Welcome to another edition of Progress and Promise. Who knew recycling could be so complicated? Ever since the closure of West Florida Recycling, the answer to the question, do you recycle, is awfully complicated. West Florida processed glass, metal, plastic, and paper for residents of the two-county area who dutifully separated their trash, but the processor had troubles, logistic and financial, for months. And last year, the company was cited by state environmental officials for failure to properly secure their recyclables. West Florida closed on April 18th, when more than 7 inches of rain in the course of a week left the company's facility with standing water and no hope of continuing to do business. They filed for bankruptcy protection, citing more than $1 million in outstanding debt, a volatile market for recyclables, and long-standing drainage issues at their North Palafox Street processing center. Its closure has meant the only people who have really been recycling in the two-county area are ECUA customers. Recyclables collected by the City of Pensacola and Santa Rosa County have been going straight to the landfill. ECUA is formalizing an agreement with a company that operates a plant in Montgomery, Alabama, that could be a short-term solution for folks. It could be the short-term solution folks around here have been looking for. With us today is Amanda Hanrahan from ECUA to talk about what makes this deal attractive to the ECUA and about how hopes for a longer-term solution to what ails our local recycling industry could be in the mix. Thank you, Amanda, for being with us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you very much. I'm excited.
We're going to have a nice conversation.
And I'm Quint Studer.
And you are Quint Studer.
And I am so confused.
That makes you very typical of what's going on with this situation.
Serious. You saw pictures in the paper of the plant. Now they're bankrupt, right?
Right, exactly.
And I'd be curious as homeowners around there what's going to happen to that, because I know the homeowners were always upset on what was going on. I've lived in the city, so I've been putting my garbage in like the recycle one, and I know it's recycled because it says recyclable.
Right. It's brown if you live in the city.
And the other one, and because I think most people in our area are very concerned about the environment, want to do a good job in the environment. And so I know everybody's sort of looking at solutions, and sometimes you miss. Right. And I think there's times when you do the best you can, but you miss. And so I'm very interested in this topic.
Well, if you can tell, let's give some background for Quint and for some of our other viewers who, people I think have thought it's you put the recyclables in this can and the trash in the other, and then it should be doing its thing, but it's just not working out that way. How did we get here?
Well, with West Florida Recycling closing, they closed due to the facility not being big enough. They had a couple of other little issues as far as like the storm flooding, and it just was the building wasn't up to par. And they were the only recycling facility in Pensacola or around the region to accept recyclable materials.
And that's what ECUA was using.
Right. Okay. ECUA, the city was using, the county.
Everybody was using.
Everybody was using.
So my
West Florida
recyclables
Recycling
went there for a while?
Yes, they did go there for a while.
But that was that was a good and bad problem, because there are no processors between Tallahassee and roughly New Orleans.
New Orleans, exactly.
And so when ECUA started to use West Florida, they were able to manage.
They were able to manage us. They were able to manage the recyclables we brought in. But then once other haulers were bringing in their recyclables, it just got so big that they weren't basically, I would say, prepared for that amount of recyclables to come in. Sure. So the facility just wasn't big enough. And then, with the storm.
I'm a business and we're not doing well financially, as obvious when they declare bankruptcy. So I'm trying to get all I can, but I can't handle it. So it's sort of like what you call in business a death spiral.
Right.
And I'm trying to do everything I can not to go there, but I'm going there. And finally it happened. Finally. April 18th.
Yes. They went there, and they're done. But you all had been able to find a patch, and that makes you the only hauler, the only processor of recyclables in the two-county area that has been able to actually recycle.
Continue our recycling program.
And so talk about the temporary solution that you all got to, and kind of how that's morphing into something that might be a little more permanent.
Okay. Basically, I kind of like to explain it as like a baseball team. ECUA is like a
Not a
baseball
bad
team.
option. Not a
Okay.
bad option.
ECUA is like a baseball team. We got thrown the curveball by West Florida Recycling closing. You know, we had suspicion that this might be coming, so we were ahead of the ball game. We knew that we needed to step up and figure out where we're going to take our recyclables, because the last thing we were going to do is let our customers not continue having a
Right, 'cause you got
recycling
people in
program.
the habit of doing
yes,
it.
I mean,
Right.
we have about 65% of our customers are recycling, and that
Which is amazing
yeah, it's
participation
great.
rate.
It's a great participation rate out of 75,000 of our customers. So we didn't want to drop the ball on this. So what we first did was we threw the ball at us, we hit that ball, and we ran to first base. First base was Marietta, Georgia. And that was the first place that we could get all of our recyclables to before we could find a different solution. So, you know, just like in baseball, you hit the ball, you run to first base, even though you didn't make a home run, your fans are still out there cheering. Well, the fans are our customers. They're the heart of our program, so we want to make them happy. So going to Marietta, it worked out for a little bit. We did it for a little bit over a month, but the distance and the long hours for our drivers just wasn't really working. So we searched for different solutions and found the facility in Montgomery, and it's called Infinitus Renewable Energy Plant. And if I continue to talk about it, I'm going to probably refer to it as IREP because it's a full...
Much easier to say.
Yeah, much easier,
Yeah.
IREP. So, and that's in Montgomery. So we're really excited, you know, we hit that ball, we found Montgomery, and you know, it's a solution for now.
Right.
And so basically it's a stand-up third. You know, we're on third base right now and are wanting to get home, and our home plate is having something here in Pensacola.
That plant in Montgomery is very state of the art, though. It was built as a $35 million investment, I
Yes.
think,
Yes.
in the city of Montgomery, and they collect all of the trash in Montgomery.
Right, they
And
do.
there they don't separate.
No.
We separate, but they don't. So the facility is built to be able to handle that.
Exactly, exactly. The technology there is just out of this world. When they do the recycling, they have air technology. So the air technology pulls out the recyclable materials, and then they also have a separating technology with discs that kind of put out to the paper, put out to the plastic, put out to the glass. So it's very state of the art, and it's a lot different than West Florida Recycling.
And it, you know, it's created jobs in Montgomery.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
I mean,
yes.
it's
big
created
time.
jobs because it sounds like a big operation.
Right.
So, if I was a UCA person, which I guess based on my address, I'm not.
You're not. You're in the city.
Even though my recyclables have at least always been recycled.
They have been recycled up until West Florida Recycling closed.
And then was there a gap for a while where they weren't recycled?
For ECUA, there wasn't
There
one.
was not.
There was not a gap at
So
all
you
for
found
ECUA.
Marietta, then you found Montgomery.
Yes.
And Montgomery will be until
Montgomery will be our home. We're looking at a 2-year contract with them.
Okay.
You know, we're not locking in anything too
well, that's
long
good too because it
term.
shows them they have to prove themselves too.
Yes, and to see exactly how it works out. But, you know, we really want to find, you know, a regional approach as to letting everybody
Which
here
means
in our
probably
community.
cooperation, right?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Well, I mean, to do a regional approach, I don't care if it's healthcare
Right.
or any business, you have to get everyone collaborating and
Exactly.
working
On the same
together.
page.
So now you
And
said
that goes so well here.
Oh, yes, perfectly.
That'll be great.
ECUA though. Now you pay. I mean, I must pay you something to pick up my garbage, right?
Right,
And then you pay Montgomery.
right.
So part of it is negotiating an agreement that makes it all work for everybody, right?
Yes, and it's getting a good deal. I know a lot of people, you know, are worried if their bill is going to increase, if there's going to be a rate, if the rate's going to.
That's no matter where you go.
Right, and it's not. We're hoping that it's not, because what we're doing is we have CNG semi-tractors that we take down to Montgomery, and they are going to be charging us $8 to $9 a ton per recyclables, but then they're going to pay ECUA $10 a ton. So basically, we'll kind of break even there on that. So hopefully that will help not let it increase at all.
Well,
the
the
customer's
long-term
bill
thing is
increase.
how much is a clean environment worth?
A lot.
You know, when I used to live, when I
yes.
used to live.
Especially in a place like where we live.
I know the
Well,
beaches and our community. And
No, I always tell people, how much is getting rid of toxic waste downtown worth?
Right.
And, when I first moved here, I went to an allergist, and he said it's the air quality.
Right.
It's not that you're allergic to, it's the quality. So you look, we have some toxic dumps we know we've had here. So anything we can all do for the environment, and it's a break even, and if you can get the environment cleaner, that's certainly nice. And thanks for moving so quickly. So, but we have.
So excited.
It is exciting.
And I know that ECUA also has put in an RFP. That's a request for proposal for people who don't live and die by government, blah, blah. Because Santa Rosa County was also a customer of West Florida Recycling, and they put out a request for proposals from ECUA and Waste Management are the two responding entities. Commissioners over there could talk about that issue again in early or mid-June or so. What do you feel like the partnership that you're creating with the Montgomery Company is going to be a plus for that avenue as well?
Yes, we really do. Short term, we're really looking to partner with Santa Rosa County. That way they can keep the recycling program going. We don't want their recycling program to come to a halt at all. So short term, that's what we want to do. And then long term, we would really like to, partner with them and get something, like a plan somehow to get a regional recycling facility here closer to home.
But before you go to bringing it back here, again, I'm thinking from a business perspective. Normally, when you're negotiating, the more leverage you have or the more you can bring to the table. So if you partner with Santa Rosa and possibly partner with other entities in the area we might talk about later, would that give us a better deal in Montgomery?
Yes, definitely.
So if we all work together,
we all need to work
everybody
together.
can win.
Everybody can, yes, exactly. If we could get everybody on the same page and work together, it's a win-win for everybody.
And I know that some folks from the city of Pensacola are planning to go and visit that plant as well. I spoke to the mayor today. He and Councilman Larry Johnson are going to go up there. The head of sanitation for the city is going up there as we're taping this, that's today, to check out the facility also. They're talking about taking some test loads from the city up to the Montgomery plant. They don't separate their trash from recyclables, but we do. And it's my understanding that actually, Quint talks about what we can bring to the table for that company. We improve the product at the end of their process because our recyclables are clean.
Right, exactly. Ours are clean. So if it's a single stream recycling system, that's the convenience for the customer. There's no separating your glass over here and your paper over here. It all goes into one can. So that's one of the benefits to our recycling program is the convenience and putting everything into one can.
So this is probably not an ECUA question, but you seem to be very knowledgeable on this topic. You've done a little research on this. So I live in the city once again. And so right now, I'm still doing recyclable.
Yes, and you should still be doing it. That's a habit that we don't want to break.
You want me to break my habit?
No, not that habit. No, I want you to keep that habit up because it's.
It'll get hard to get back into the habit.
It's going to the landfill right now, the Perdita landfill, where the county, which owns the landfill, is charging $44 a ton to tip that recycling right in there with the rest of the garbage.
Okay.
The city is going to take some test loads up to Montgomery to see if that facility is going to work out for them. And I know that, I do believe that there are folks at the city who are interested in making sure and taking that regional approach and trying to, nobody wants people to break the habit of doing a good thing, and recycling is a good thing.
But it's always tough. If you're an elected official, you have to weigh the environment with the cost, with the tax dollar, what people are paying. So it's just not just a simple, easy situation. I'm glad they're doing some research. Are we sending anyone up there also?
We are, in fact.
The Student Group Institute sending people up there.
Our Student Institute graphics editor, Ron Stallcup, is going up there. We will be lucky enough to have some video that he brought back with us later in the show, so he can give us a glimpse of what it's like inside the IREP.
Yes, I know.
But education's important. I know we're spending somebody up there too.
Right.
And going back to this, if it works up there, and the money's going up there. Eventually, you take an accounting aspect. You say, how much money are we putting up there? If we took that money, could go out and borrow some money, we might be able to do something down here someday, which could create some jobs and also reduce costs possibly. Is that sort of the plan?
That's what we're hoping for. That's what we're hoping
But
for.
if not, it's still better
Right.
to have this situation than what we had, which was not good.
Right, exactly. So we had to kind of jump on the ball and make sure that nothing happened to our recycling program. Our customers are the heart of our recycling program, and they put in so much effort into the recycling program.
You have no idea what it took for me to get my parents to sign on to this.
I mean, and it is. Sometimes it's hard, but the ones that are doing it, it's great because our program's voluntary. You don't have to recycle.
Well,
no.
You know, and there's
But
no
it's
charge
easy.
for it.
No, but it's easy.
It's very easy. So, but the ones that are doing it those are the ones that are passionate about it and making sure that we're getting the recyclables in there and no yard waste, no garbage on top of that.
And you do still get about 80 to 100 new customers a week.
a
You
week.
probably have, no, I won't say flatline,
Well,
but
when
you
you
probably kind of, tapered off. But there are still people signing on to the
No, when
program.
you start, you get used to it. We lived in Wisconsin until 1993, and we had recycled. We had a blue. I mean, they're very into recycling there in 1993. We moved to Chicago. We had recycling. In fact,
What year was that?
When we moved,
What year was that?
96.
Okay.
When we moved, we moved to Chicago in 93. Lived in Wisconsin in 93. We had recycling before we moved. Then we moved to Chicago, we had recycling. In fact, when we moved down here, one of my wife's first questions was the recycling, where is it? So I think when you get people from outside this area, they're almost naturally going to be used to doing it from where they came from.
And we do really see that on the beach. We actually are able to provide recycling to our commercial customers on the beach. And at the condos, we'll get the snowbirds that come down, and they are very much so into recycling, and they still do it while they're on vacation too.
Right.
See,
So
God bless
it's
them.
great. I mean, when I go out there and meet with some of these people, it's great to hear their stories and how in different states it's such a huge thing recycling is, and then even coming on vacation and still participating in it is great.
Let me ask you, Amanda, because you're so knowledgeable on this. I mean, how did you get so smart on this? How long?
I love it. I love it.
How long you been with ECUA?
I actually have only been with ECUA 3 years.
3 years.
Yes. There was not a recycling coordinator position before me, so I was the first one for it. So
You're
I'm
very
very
passionate.
passionate. Yes, I'm very passionate about it, and especially with my customers, I love it. We go out into the community and
No, we're
do
fortunate to
events.
have you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, and I know that ECUA did a lot of hard work to educate people about how to do it because, even though Quint had recycling in the 90s in Chicago, in other parts of the world,
No, we got
it's
two
a newish
garbage
thing
Right.
down here.
Right.
And there is a learning curve, and it takes a little bit of effort. And I think that effort has paid off with the participation rate that you all have.
Exactly, because it started in 2009, and our goal was a 20% participation rate within the first 6 months. Well, we got that 20% within the first 3 weeks.
Wow.
So from
10th-up
2009,
demand.
from 2009 to now, we have 65% of our customers recycling.
And hopefully we'll get a lot more.
Yes, that's what we're wishing.
Yes, and
Yes.
even more hopefully if we could get a regional facility here so that we would no longer have to depend on
And
the
jobs.
whims and foibles of the recycling market. We could have jobs. That would be an investment. I know the company that runs the IREP in Montgomery has expressed some interest in maybe coming to this region if that's possible. That's something that y'all
That would
have
be
talked
fantastic.
with them about.
Yes, that would be ideal. That would be ideal for
Because the current situation sounds great, but and it's wonderful for Montgomery, and they have those jobs. I just, I want jobs here.
Exactly,
That's what I've always
exactly.
wanted. I want jobs.
Yes.
Well, that would be wonderful. And an investment in the community, a great thing to do. What more could we ask? Thank you,
Exactly.
Amanda,
Thank
so
you
much
so much
for being
for
with us,
having
for
me.
answering our questions on this issue that seems
So I'm
to be
gonna
more
keep-
complicated.
I'm gonna keep doing it.
doing
Okay.
it.
Recycling.
Don't
Keep
give
it
up.
up. Keep it up.
Don't
I
give it
will.
up. Keep it up. Thank you so much. If you stick around, we will be right back. But first, we want to show you a little bit of what Ron Stallcup found when he went to the Montgomery plant, just so we can see what happens to our recyclables when they leave our care.
The Emerald Coast Utilities Authority has recently entered into an agreement with Infinitus Energy of Montgomery, Alabama, to accept and process ECUA's recyclable material. The facility began accepting ECUA's material this May. On May 28th, members of the ECUA board and staff, various elected officials, and the media were able to visit the recycling plant in Montgomery. What they saw was a state-of-the-art waste processing system that can produce high-quality bundles of recyclable material ready for sale to manufacturers. The $35 million, 82,000 square foot facility sits on 75 acres of land and employs 110 people. Here, talking about the site, is Infinitus Chief Executive Officer Kyle Mowitz.
This is what I really want you to see is the paper. If you look at this material, this is from a little too much grease on the baler, but you actually don't get hit on that. So it looks ugly, but you don't get hit. But this is what I want you to see. This mixed paper, what everybody talks about in a mixed waste MRF like this is, can you sell the fiber? You know, they're worried about the fiber because of the moisture and everything else. These bales right here, these fiber bales, number one, are all sold. But I want to point out one thing to you is, if you look at this bale, and then you look at these bales, okay, these are one of the first mixed paper bales we ran. This is when I would say we're not very good at what we do. This is where we get better at what we do, right? So there's a big difference when you look at these bales here compared to what we're getting out now, and that's just an operational thing. So these bales are sold. We didn't get premiums on them. These bales we got premiums on, right?
And
that's
what,
the difference.
And what is that? What is it about these? They look cleaner and all of that, but is there a content or moisture difference or anything?
Yeah, so what was going on is we just, if you kind of look in the material of this, there's plastic, there's, you know, the material was really moist, which means it was sitting on the tipping floor too long, which should never happen because it starts to cook. So we messed these up. This is a screw up. Now we can still sell them. Paper companies are turning it into pulp, so it's not a huge deal, but it's not these bits. As you see the rest of them, we started dialing in and get it right. That's part of operations. You know, people don't want to talk about mistakes, but that's part of the operation.
Sure, but you've only been in operation for about 5 weeks.
For 30 days, actually, yeah. One of those weeks was a very limited one, so about 4 weeks total. These were one of the first. We've been moving paper the whole time. I asked them to keep this here because I want to show people the difference from where you start to where you go. And fully automated section of the facility. This is all this is a series of optical sorters that we dial in to catch certain types of plastics. Here we're catching PET. We're actually ejecting it, so the optics reads it, ejects the air up and into the bale, and it drops down and goes into quality control. Everything else falls under and goes on through the facility to get, you know, sourced by the rest of the opticals. So here, what they used to do is optically sense here and shoot air there. What was happening, of course, when you move a bale or when you move a conveyor, the plastic bottle would roll and the air would miss it, so it wasn't as efficient. Now we optically sense and shoot air within a millisecond, 1/1000th of a millisecond, so it doesn't miss the bottle. What we drive here from a private entity is running those costs out there down, right? Every day we're looking at where we can find one efficiency. If I can find efficiency a day, that's 365 efficiencies a year. Hopefully that turns into real money. What I'll tell you, the biggest thing in mixed waste is flexibility. So when you put margins aside, you need flexibility. Where our profit margins will move continually up, and they will fluctuate. Mixed waste is an interesting beast, by the way. This is not for the faint at heart. It's not a single stream material. We get hoses, dead animals, textiles, hypodermic needles. I mean, you name it, right? It's in here.
Here we are, folks, fighting over our garbage. When you wonder why progress comes at such a steep price in this area, why red tape seems to choke the life out of every step we try to take forward, think of this moment, the recycling wars of 2014. And you will have your answer. The closure of West Florida recycling left the Emerald Coast Utilities Authority, the City of Pensacola, and Santa Rosa County without a processor for the recyclables we so dutifully sort into the appropriate color-coded bins. But the shutdown of West Florida should have come as a surprise to exactly 0 people. It had come to the attention of regulators with the State Department of Environmental Protection. It was in financial straits for several months. All of the government entities involved should have had a better backup plan in place. The ECUA trucked its recyclables first to Marietta, Georgia, and now is taking them to Montgomery. In the works is a 2-year agreement between the Montgomery plant owners and ECUA to at least keep those customers recycling in more than name only. For now, the residents of the city of Pensacola and Santa Rosa County are doing so in spirit. Those paper, plastic, metal, and glass collectibles have all been going to the landfill. And as disappointing as that is, we've got to keep up the habit of sorting and sifting and trying to do the right thing. For one thing, the folks at the city, at the ECUA, and in Santa Rosa are all talking about the need for a regional processing facility that can handle the volume generated in this area. If that possibility comes true, if cooperation across the lines of geography and political turf could be more than just a dream, it would indeed be a beautiful thing. Otherwise, we are a 21st century community whose curbside recycling program is brought to its knees by poor storage of our mixed paper. Curbside recycling is a service that 21st century communities provide to their residents. It is not newfangled. It is a basic service as important as potable water and reliable garbage service. But here, even our garbage is complicated. Escambia County has hired a special projects manager who is tasked with, among other things, working on the feasibility of setting up a recycling program at the Perdido landfill. The folks at ECUA said that would be a great idea, as long as trucking your recyclables to the landfill does not include the $44 cover charge known as a tipping fee to use the landfill. Why should it when ECUA can take their tonnage to Montgomery and get the cost of fuel with a little left over? If we are to have détente in the Escambia County garbage wars, we need something that is too often in short supply here: cooperation among government entities. Otherwise, we'll be right back where we always are, fighting over scraps and wondering why the money to be made on something is headed out of town. That's all for this episode, but be sure to check us out online at progresspromise.com. Look for us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at @OurProgressNow. Thanks for watching.
Imagine a place in Pensacola where math, the language of the universe, is accessible to kids, where engineering is used to build towers and tinker with machines, and where science is applied through actual hands-on experimentation. This place has all sorts of other fun stuff that comes alive and gets brains working. It's called the Pensacola Mess Hall, and it's all hands-on science. Visit us online or call 1-877-YES-MESS.